Here, it's 4 o'clock in the UK, which means it's 11 a.m. on the East Coast in the States, and you're listening to a show called Free Association. My name's Dennis. I'm here every Saturday. I don't have any specific agenda today. I was looking for topics at work this week, and a couple were suggested. Well, one was suggested, which was the Bermuda Triangle, and it turns out that I'm working with a woman who knows somebody whose boyfriend disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, or partner, or husband, or whatever it was. So I'm 3 steps removed from a Bermuda Triangle disappearance, which I had no idea about before we had this conversation about what I should talk about on the radio show. So I may play a couple of clips of a Bermuda Triangle documentary later on, or I may not. It got me thinking, though. It got me thinking about when I was about 14, 15 years old, and I used to buy a magazine called 40 Times. Now, 40 Times was full of thunderstorms that had frogs dropping out of the sky and spontaneous human combustion and all sorts of things like that, including the Bermuda Triangle. And I remember clearly looking at a map of spontaneous human combustion, and it was a line down the east coast of England. I remember that from 35 years ago, so it must have made an impact on me at some level. So I might do some research. It would have to be live on spontaneous human combustion as well. Those are a couple of things that I might talk about. I've got something else as well, which is a thing called Immunics. Immunics, if you look it up on YouTube, I found Immunics when I was looking for a cure for cancer about 5 years ago. I was looking at cancer cures just to see what was out there, and Immunics is one of the things that comes up if you do a search for cancer cures on YouTube. Surprisingly, there are 2 or 3 things that are claiming to cure cancer on YouTube. It's not kind of a thing that I was expecting, but that's the way it was. And Bayard Barnes is the guy, one of the guys who put together Immunics. It was a group of people. Let me just play a little bit of Bayard Barnes so you can hear his voice, because you can get a feel for who people are by their voice, I think. So let's do that now. And you discovered this thing that's a cure for herpes. He had a problem with herpes. So let me see if I can find something where he's talking about that, and it'll give you an idea. Actually, there's nothing comes up with Bayard Barnes on it, so let me be more specific and put an S on the end of Immunics. Excuse me. Right, here we go. This is Bayard Barnes talking about Immunics. The video's from a channel on YouTube called Cure Drive, and I do Immunics at work because I can sit with a notepad while I'm on the phone with people and test and take things out. Right, you might explain it a little bit better than I can. So let me just roll this. Let's do this from my phone because the laptop isn't going to play ball, so let's do it from my phone. Right, live radio, folks, we know how it works. It's all happens the way it happens. I've got 15% on my battery on my phone, so I might be able to get a little bit Immunics herpes cure. There we go.
All right, you all set? I'm going to show you how to cure your herpes. See, it's long overdue. I made movies about curing herpes years ago. Long overdue to make another one. I got my I Cured Herpes cap on. See this? See that? My I Cured Herpes baseball cap. If you notice, underneath there it tells how many cures we've got. Those are not all herpes cures. I've watched people cure cancer, which is far more important than curing herpes. Lupus, also far more important. Lethal diseases, Kelly cured a liver disease, potentially lethal liver disease. I am the very first person who cured anything, and that was herpes. It was in July of 1993. When I was coming back from Anguilla, I was in the Anguilla. I can't pronounce. I've spent a month here and I can't pronounce the name of the place. I was in the parking lot of the car rental in Puerto Rico and doing my Immunic dance. That's what we do. We do Immunics. That's how we cure these things. It's not just me. There's obviously a whole huge group of people who cure stuff. And I was doing my Immunic dance. There weren't very many of us at that point. This is 1993 we're talking about. And I had a terrible herpes outbreak. It was huge. And lip and genital, I had them both. And it was like this little voice, this little God voice whispering in my ear, test if you can kill the virus. And that was the word it used. It knew I would relate to killing herpes. and I did relate to it. And I tested, and this is how you test. See this little tiny movement? Well, back in those days, I was doing this. See that? When my finger would release, it would mean, yes. And my finger released when I tested it. Now we just look for some people get a pulse. And if you tried this just right there when I showed it to you, and you did not get any finger signal, you should not worry about that. Most people, when they first begin this, do not succeed in getting finger signals that they've cured anything. So don't worry about it. So now I'm just going to go on. I'm going to tell you how to do this. People are always asking me, well, how do I do it? Get to the point. People say to me, this guy is nuts. People write these things in, this guy is crazy and he doesn't get to the point. I'm crazy and they want to hear what I have to say. So they keep watching. Well, you can't blame them. This is the only cure for herpes. All those things like herbs and all these other things, they don't cure herpes. I mean, herbs are great. I use herbs, but never cured herpes with it. I started using herbs back in the 1970s, for God's sake. 1970 is when I bought my juicer and I threw away my salt and sugar. I stopped eating salt and sugar. I threw the bag away, the garbage, the bag of sugar in the container of it rains when it pours, or whatever. It pours when it rains. I can't remember anymore. But they were gone. I threw them away. So that's when I began on my health quest. Never cured my herpes. Didn't even expect to. Who thought? Whoever thought? Now they're all advertising these herpes herbs. They cure herpes. Or that maybe they say we can't say these cure herpes. herpes because, anyway, they don't. So, but you can cure your herpes. Let me see what I'm supposed to tell you next. Okay, all right. So here's how you cure your herpes, okay? Let's say you're in this study and you're doing this, and you would say, okay, I am now going to, what you're going to do is I'm going to say, is there any herpes in my gravitational body? And see that in this particular demonstration, this does not mean, I actually got no to that. There was no signal coming through. But then what I did is I just put a little thought in my demonstration signal. So my finger gave, that's actually a signal. It's just, you know, a signal, yes, this is the demonstration. So now for you, what you would do is you would actually train yourself to see or feel your spiral body. And you would then, or your gravitational body, you have to check both of those and a lot of other ones too. But let's go back to the gravitational. So you would say, okay, you get your gravitational body. So like one way to do that is to say, you know, just to say, I'm bringing my gravitational body. I'm going to do this. I'm bringing my gravitational body into my physical body. Okay, all right. When my finger stopped, that meant it was there. And I can test it, and I'm getting, you notice I'm not looking at you anymore, right? People say, this guy has shifty eyes, you know. I'm actually kind of focusing inward. The gravitational body does not exist in physical space. So you would focus on it. Now again, if you are not getting a finger twitch, don't worry about it. You can actually try to do this even if you don't get a finger twitch and just see if you can feel anything in there or spot anything in there. And when I've got my gravitational body, then I start scanning it. So I'm going to go, and again, there's no herpes there, but I get a demonstration signal, and that would mean that, okay, that's the herpes. I found the herpes in which the gravitational body, just to give you an idea of how small it is, you had one when you were a subatomic particle. Okay, so I would say, okay, now I'm now removing the herpes from my gravitational body. I actually did just remove something from my gravitational body. It was not herpes, but I did remove something. And I feel different. And that's another thing. There's another signal that's more important than the finger twitch. It's a change in the way you feel. And when you get this change, you realize that the herpes was making you feel not so good. So at that point, you know you have done something. Have you cured your herpes at that point? No, absolutely not. All you did was take it out of your gravitational body. There's a difference, okay? But let me test. If someone did that, would they have cured their herpes? And I get yes. In a sense, that's a cure that you can credit yourself with, especially if you feel different. You know, you can cure symptoms, you can cure part of something. You know, there's lots of cures, or not the cure where you get the negative medical test. What you do is you work yourself towards the negative medical test. Like people always ask me, well, do people actually get negative medical tests? Well, they ask me, did I get a negative medical test on herpes? No. Nor did I ever get a positive medical test on herpes, as a matter of fact. In 1966, there were no medical tests for herpes. I went to Jackson Memorial Hospital as a charity case, and which was, you know, a good way to go because, you know, probably 14 interns looked at me, and I heard them in the next room, and they were saying, oh, that guy's got herpes in there. Oh, herpes, yeah. Oh, I want to see. Can I go look? They'd never seen a case of herpes. It was not as common as it is now. So there was no blood test, no tests for herpes, but they would scrape it, observe it, and they'd say, that's herpes. You know? Then they tell you it was incurable and send you home. And that was it. That was the whole, no Valtrex, no treatments, nothing. Just, it's incurable, go home. So I didn't know it was incurable. when I went to all the trouble of sitting with the social worker and getting myself accepted as a charity case, and she said, well, you're in college, why don't you work and make some money so you can go to the doctor? And I was just like, okay, we'll handle this one step. But I said, please take me because I'm in pain. And she said, okay. So that's how I got in. All righty, onward. So then you remove the herpes from all of your bodies. And there's a web college. See this? You go to this website. See the org? It's not Cure Dry. There's the web address. Orgs are nonprofits. There's the web address right there. See that? So, that's what you do. You go there and follow the directions. And you'll find lists of bodies and all the stuff you need to cure it. So this is, now the question is.
Right, that's probably enough for Bayard Barnes. That's 10 minutes, so you get an idea of what he sounds like, how he thinks. Bayard Barnes is a former psychotherapist. He seems to have had a colourful life. He's been seminar leader. He's done all sorts of things. So the point that I'm making with this video is that he uses the word cure a lot, and cure is a word that people should use a lot, I think. And he's right when he says that small things lead to bigger things. So small cures lead to bigger cures, lead to bigger cures, lead to bigger cures. In the case of Immunics, you take out whatever you can find, at whatever level you can find it, in whichever body you can find it, and you just keep taking things out. And whatever comes up, you take it out and replace it with something else. Replace it with an intention. So in effect, what this is doing, it's a clearing the rubber process. It's a if you think of a virus, in the case of herpes, a herpes virus is a block to happiness, a block to your fulfillment of who you are. It's something that's limiting you. And what you're doing is taking out limitations. You're taking out limitations to a sense of peace, a sense of freedom, a sense of joy that you could have if you didn't have all this stuff going on in your body that's making you either physically sick or emotionally or mentally or spiritually sick. So I like the approach because he's very direct about, he's very indirect when he's talking about it, but he's very direct about using the word cure. And I like that about it. That's one of the things that I do like about it. So I'm going to talk about what I've been doing at work this week, which has had a definite impact on my productivity. It's been a good week in terms of appointments. I'll make appointments on the phone, for those who don't know, for a kitchen company. And I've had a good week. I've made 16 or 17 appointments this week, whereas on a normal week I would make between 6 and 8 or 10, maybe 10 on a good day, good week, 6 on a bad week. That's usually the range of what happens in terms of my production at work. But I've been doing a little bit of Immunics because it's something I've done before, and I know that it's possible to work in a call center and do this at the same time. And what I do is I sit with a notepad and I go through 4 specific bodies. So the process is connecting to your immune system. So you do that by just saying the words, I'm now connecting to my ability to control my immune system. And then you wait for a symbol, a signal that tells you, like a dowsing signal or a muscle twitch or something in your hand that you've set up prior to doing this, to tell you whether that's happened. So I would set that up, and then the next statement was a statement. All my bodies are at full function, and then I would test and usually I get a finger twitch. If I'm at work, it's just a sense. I don't always put my hand out in front of me and look for a finger twitch. I just get a sense that it's happened when I'm making these intentional statements. So all my bodies are at full function is the first statement. and then all my bodies are free from immune dysfunctions. Now, immune dysfunctions in Immunics terms can be anything from any kind of emotional situation, any kind of feeling of dread or fear or anxiety or anger or whatever, all would be classed as immune dysfunctions. And immune dysfunctions, there's a long list on the website. If you get to curedrive.org, O-R-G, Cure Drives, CUREDRIVE.org. If you sign up there, they've got a membership website, and behind the paywall is a long list of things that are pathologies and immune dysfunctions and conditions. I don't remember them all. I'm not a member at the moment. I'm just doing everything I do is from memory at the moment. I may join up again. I haven't decided yet, because I don't really need to rejoin, because I can do what I do at work from memory, and if anything comes up that's just in my head to take out, I'll just take it out. I don't need to refer really to a membership website. But if you're just starting out, it's I think it's $25 a month or $20 a month, and it's just join for a couple of months, have a look around, get used to what they do, and take what you need from it to do what you want to do. They're claiming that they can cure cancer. They're claiming they can cure herpes. They're claiming all sorts of things, and unless we test it, we're never going to know. So I don't have any experience of curing cancer. What I'm using it for is to increase my productivity at work. So what I'm using it for is to cure my cash flow issues, because I get commission based on the number of appointments that I make. So what it is for me is a cash flow cure, and taking out things that are in the way is a good way to increase flow. So letting go of things or taking them out, the principle is the same. There's more intentionality in this way of doing things, but it's not that far away from what Sedona method and emotional freedom technique do. It's quite similar in a lot of ways. Right, I'm going to play a little bit more of the video, I think, now, from the Bayard Barnes video, and just see what else he has to say. I haven't seen this one for years, and it's about 10 more minutes to run, so I'll just give him a go.
Let's say you take the herpes out of all of your bodies, including the physical, and feel different, and your outbreak disappears. Have you then cured your herpes, and can you now go get retested? Because most of the people I talk to have had a medical test. Lots of people get negative medical tests on herpes. For example, Barb, one of the people you'll meet on the cure team. See, this is not me, okay? We're a team. We have a college and a cure team, and we have people for you to talk to, and people who want to help you. And Barb is one of them, and she got negative medical tests on 3 medically incurable diseases, which she had previously tested positive for. One of them was the Epstein-Barr virus that causes chronic fatigue syndrome. And the other 2 were lip and genital herpes, HSV 1 and 2, oral and genital. So, yes, people get negative medical tests. No, I was never tested positive, negative, or any other ways. And stop asking me and talk to the other people who are curing these things. And you'll meet people who are curing like MS. Join the cure team. Be one of us. Be with us. That is why I made this movie, to invite you to be part of the cure team, to be one of us. And, I'm crazy, People are always saying that. This guy is crazy. I'm crazy. That is true. But as you can see from my baseball cap, I also have cured my herpes. You see, poop on this, okay? If I talk to God and cure my herpes and believe I have a spiral body, and you never heard of any of these bodies, right? Before you saw this movie, so because we know we have them, but that's because we have the ability to access this information because we're getting feedback that leads us to these things, you know. So, see, if I am, you know, if I talk to God and cure my herpes, I'm nuts. But if a lot of us do it, we're a religion. So join our religion, cure your herpes. We want you to be a part of it. That's what this is all about. And so anyway, back to the question, which is, okay, so let's say you've taken the herpes out of all your bodies. You know, you now feel better and your herpes outbreak disappears, and it's a few days later and your outbreak is definitely gone, and you're testing, and you keep testing that it's back in your gravitational body, and you keep taking it out. And if you keep doing that, is the herpes now cured? And the answer is no. In order to get a negative medical test, you're going to need to keep checking. Also, you're going to learn to feel. You will learn to feel when you have herpes in your gravitational body. You see, the fact is, these bodies are not just these imaginary New Age things that we all, you know, dreamed up. They exist, and when you have an infection in your gravitational body, you're not going to feel so good. And I don't mean physically or non-physically, just you're going to feel, you will learn that the general way that you walked around feeling is not necessarily normal. That it is possible to feel a whole lot better than you're used to feeling. So, when you take it out of all your bodies and it's gone, you test it, it's all gone, and you'll feel this different way, you know, this good way. It's a good feeling, you know. We call it the calm, clear place. So when you find yourself in the calm, clear place, at that point, you know, you're going to say, oh, okay, this is great, but, you know, did I cure my herpes? And you'll test yes. And you'll test, can I get a negative medical test? I don't know whether you'll test yes or no on that, but it doesn't matter, because probably you can't. Because, you know, 20 minutes later, you're going to be back to feeling the yucky way you always felt, because you have millions of things to cure. That's why. There's many, many things. You didn't know they were there, okay? You know, it's not a crime, you know? You don't have to blame yourself for that. You don't know very much about yourself. The bottom line is, what you need to understand here, you don't know very much about yourself. Like, you didn't know you had a spiral body, right? That's pretty basic, isn't it? If you've got one and you don't know you have one, you know, that would constitute not knowing an essential thing about yourself, right? Like, boom, just you know, think about it for a second. Give it a moment's thought, you know? I'm telling you, the herpes was in your spiral body. You didn't know that. Oh, well, they took it out, and now I'm feeling different. Oh, yeah, I guess maybe it was in my spiral body. So maybe you didn't know as much, because most people think they know all about themselves. You know, well, maybe you didn't know as much about yourself as you thought you did. So that's all out there, you know, for you to discover. And this is a good experience. It's discovering these things feels good, and it's enjoyable, and you're gonna love it. Or maybe not. You know, a lot of people don't really like making new discoveries about themselves. The discoveries just prove that they were wrong about all these things that they thought, so they're not too happy about that, so then they quit. No, what can I tell you, you know? Keep your herpes. You know, if you don't want to discover that you were wrong and stupid and bad and unconscious and dense, you know, and you don't want to come to understand that, come into the knowingness of that, then you can always just stay sick and go to the doctor, and then they'll tell you they have no cure, and then you can march for the cure. You can march for the cancer cure. Or you can cure your cancer, but you're going to be making a lot of discoveries about yourself. And it's going to be a lot of hard work and take a long time. And Barb cured her herpes in 1994, my friend who got the negative medical test. The negative medical test she got in 2006. No kidding. She didn't care about getting a negative medical test, but she went to a buddy of hers who was a doctor because we were doing the blood type diet. She wanted to know her blood type. So her doctor said, well, her friend said, okay, I'm going to do a complete workup on you, and he did. She was negative on everything. Clean blood. Okay, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and it's good being with you. So connect with us. Friend me on Facebook. I'm Byron Henry Barnes. So you can be my Facebook friend. Watch the movies that are on my Facebook page. And you will learn all about curing things from those too.
There you go. So that's Bayard Barnes doing his thing. And he's enthusiastic at this point. He was retired. I think he's still around. And he's on my Facebook list somewhere, but I haven't really had any contact with him. But I'd like to suggest that people take a look at Immunics simply because the approach seems pretty good to me. It really comes down to a grid of bodies and pathologies and functions. So what I do is I make a list of the 4 bodies that I use when I'm at work are etheric, spiral, gravitational, and celestial. So I've got a column with the Immunics bodies in there. I've got a column with the pathology in there. I usually just pick one at a time and go through each of those 4 bodies. And if I find a virus, then I'll put a tick next to it, and then I remove the virus. That's just an intentional statement. I'm now removing all virus from my etheric body, for instance. So there's a formula there to follow for the intentional statement. And I go through etheric, spiral, gravitational, celestial. I test each body for the virus. If I get a yes, I put a tick in the next column. When I've removed it, I got a yes for that. I put another tick in the next column. And then there's a process for installing functions. And a function in Immunics is something that would be good behavior or a good feeling. I usually use a good emotion, positive emotion when I'm at work. Things like enthusiasm, gratitude, joy, and imperturbability I put in there as well, which is just a sense of peace in all situations. So as I say, I've been doing this for the full week, and my production has doubled more or less, and for appointments. So I'm going to keep doing Immunics and keep getting the commission. Excuse me. Don't know what goes on with my voice on these radio shows. My voice is fine normally, and for some reason it cracks up when I do my radio show. It's just one of those things. Can't really be helped. I just have to live with it. We've got 25 minutes left. So just a reminder that Revolution Radio is listener supported. So you can, if you want to make a contribution financially or just put it in a little bit of time into the chat room, maybe you can go to revolution.radio and have a conversation on the chat room there. You'll find that there's a donation tab at the top of the page where you can make a one-off donation, and there's also a Patreon button where you can make a monthly regular donation, and it all helps. I'm putting $5 a month. I'm putting, £5 a month through Patreon, and it's easy to set up, easy enough to set up. There's no real stress about Patreon. It seems to be okay. Right, so the other thing I was going to talk about is another chance to play a video, really. Let me find a video on the Bermuda Triangle, because I was surprised that I'm 2 steps removed from somebody who's disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. That was a revelation to me. So let's do that. Okay, there was a 50-minute documentary that I was looking at here. There we go. Let's try this. This is from a documentary called The Devil's Sea Beyond the Bermuda Triangle.
Today, the legend of sea monsters may have faded, but Japanese fishermen still fear the Devil's Sea, even as its rich bounty draws them to risk their lives.
The Devil's Sea is also an abundant sea. Fish always cluster here.
Alright, so this is about a different part of the ocean, just off Japan. There's another documentary somewhere that I was looking at. See what the related content brings up. This is a documentary on the Naked Science channel, which is about the Bermuda Triangle. So I'll play a little bit of that as well.
The Bermuda Triangle, said to be a mysterious vortex claiming lives, ships, and planes at will. Some are never found.
We searched, found absolutely nothing.
Others turn up as gravestones on the ocean floor. Among such feared supernatural phenomena as UFOs and alien abduction, the Triangle is a serious contender. This program is setting out to unravel its secrets, finding out what lies behind the myth. Flying into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle. Welcome to the 450,000 square miles of the Atlantic Ocean, known as the Bermuda Triangle. Weather here can wreak havoc with planes and ships. A single Bermuda Triangle hurricane packs more energy than 10,000 nuclear bombs. Ocean swells can climb to 50 feet, the height of a 5-story building. Winds of up to 200 miles per hour, 4 times stronger than a gale-force wind. Even in calm weather, this triangle of water stretching from Miami north to Bermuda and south to Puerto Rico is known to swallow victims. Some disappearing without a trace. No SOS. No survivors to tell their tales. Others at rest in the graveyard of ships and aircraft beneath the waves. Firm statistics are impossible to come by, but some ships, planes, and people have vanished without explanation. Others for reasons that have come to light later on. In 1918, the supply ship USS Cyclops left Barbados. Shortly afterwards, all contact ceased. And in 1963, the SS Marine Sulphur Queen made a routine call from near Key West and was never heard of again. Scientists insist there is nothing unusual about the Triangle waters, and statistically the skeptics are probably right. Yet the stories, the legends, have only grown with time. But why this myth about a stretch of water? After World War II came the dawn of the Cold War and the terrifying prospect of nuclear conflict. Uncertainty and fear helped foster inexplicable myths that flourished in films and popular culture. Unidentified flying objects reported over American soil. Alien abductions blamed for numerous disappearances. Every far-fetched tale seemed within the realm of possibility. These tensions of the sci-fi age spawned book and newspaper reports of supposed disappearances and supernatural happenings. Just as the number of air and sea journeys and the casualties were increasing dramatically. By the mid-1960s, a writer for Argosy magazine coined the term Bermuda Triangle, elevating the myth to even greater heights. But what is real and what is myth? Meet the theorists, scientists, eccentrics, experts, and eyewitnesses, all drawn to the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. Paul Vance is one man who does believe in the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. He claims to have seen something strange on a boating trip, perhaps a UFO.
My friend Doug Gerd and I were leaving West Palm Beach, started watching a particular white light that came across the sky, and then it stopped. This was not an airplane, it was a single white light. And after it stopped, a cloud just appeared underneath it. It was spinning. It kind of looked like a tornado, but it wasn't that long as a tornado. Just almost at the same moment that I noticed the light stop, my engine started running rough on my boat. But I was so mesmerized at what I was seeing that I hardly took notice of it.
Paul Vance's story is impossible to prove or disprove. But science does offer a few logical explanations for many Bermuda Triangle mysteries. One of the most commonly held theories revolves around weather.
Okay, so that's the first 6 minutes of that particular documentary. It sets out where the Bermuda Triangle is. So from Puerto Rico to Florida up to Bermuda. And I remember years ago when I was a teenager, or was I even a teenager? Maybe I was 10 years old, 11 years old. There was a program called Fantastic Journey, I think it was, which was about a group of people who got lost in the Bermuda Triangle and kept moving through time zones on an island. So it was like it was a science fiction series. I think it's, and they went through they went to a different place every week on this island just by going through a kind of shimmering barrier. So it was a kind of time tunnel idea, but using the Bermuda Triangle and an island as the hook. Well, it was a good show, and I was quite into it at the time. Admittedly, I was 10 years old, so it could have been rubbish for everybody else, but a 10-year-old's going to enjoy it because they're 10. And yeah, it stuck in my mind. So there's a possibility of electromagnetic anomalies going on in certain parts of the world, or on ley lines or whatever. There's no science to back any of this stuff, but there's anecdotal evidence. People have seen things or experienced things at ancient monuments on ley lines. It's just as possible that the Bermuda Triangle exists. There's no reason why it wouldn't. There's no. I mean, it's a branding of an area of sea, if you think about it. So the branding exists, and the sea exists, and there are boats and ships that are disappearing. It's just the explanation for the disappearance that's the puzzling bit. It could be natural weather, it could be electromagnetic anomalies, it could be UFOs, could be almost anything. But it's not something that I've heard discussed recently. Most of the documentaries are from the late 70s. There's been one or two movies recently, but nothing that really hooked an audience in the way that it used to in the 70s. So I'm putting the Bermuda Triangle back on the agenda. It's back on the things that can be talked about list. Just by putting it here, it becomes something that's possible to talk about again. So that's good enough for me. That's the intention of the show. I don't actually have to go into huge detail with it. It's just putting it on the agenda again. Right, so that covers the Bermuda Triangle. Let's have a look at something else now. Because I'm halfway through, I'm 2/3 of the way through a video called Putting Prosperity to Work. So let me get my phone back because it'll be louder on the phone. And we've only got 6 minutes, 7 minutes or so, so let me just play a little bit of this. This is Robert A. Russell wrote the book, and he was a New Thought author. Putting Prosperity to Work. Here we go. So just for the last 5 minutes or so, I'll play a little bit of this book, give you an idea of what Robert A. Russell was about.
In its wake. Anxiety and haste delay the manifestation of your good. He that hastes to be rich hath an evil eye, and considereth not that poverty shall come upon him. But he that goes along with God in the realization of his abundance shall in due time receive his own. Do not try to rush the season or force the crop. Be still and know that I am God. When you make a demand on the universe, assume that it has been fulfilled. Do not dig up the earth to see if the seed is growing. Do not seek confirmation of your faith. Worry and uncertainty about the outcome of your treatment are unconscious attempts to force your good. Concern is a lack of trust. Live by indirection. Live laboriously. Think without anxiety. Pray without effort. These are the secrets of long, full, happy, useful, and rich life. When your work is done in consciousness, the answer is assured. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Prosperity and supply. My God shall supply all of your need. In the feeding of the 5,000 recorded in all four Gospels, we have a striking example of the power of substance to multiply and increase itself. The disciples are face to face with a desperate situation. There are 5,000 hungry people on hand to feed. What could they do in such a situation? They did what you and I would probably have done. They took an inventory of their assets and stated the result. There is a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? Does that sound familiar? I have here but $50 and I need 500. I have here only enough food to run me for a week. I have nothing to give, I have nothing to wear, and so on and so on. Are these things true? How about your God? Don't you believe in him? Has he ever turned his back on you? Has he ever refused anything you asked? Has he ever disappointed you? Is it not possible that right now he can meet this need for you? Was Jesus worried about feeding the 5,000 hungry people who said, "Run afoot thither out of all cities to learn of him"? Remember that the day was far spent, and they were in a desert place. St. John tells us that he was not worried or anxious, for he himself knew what he would do. What a heartening realization this is even today. The disciples sought to send the people away, but Jesus said, "They need not depart, give ye them to eat." He had a plan and he was going to carry it out. They need not depart, because he was adequate to their need. The Christ is always adequate to our needs. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He fulfills our needs now just as he did then. And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of fragments and of the fishes. I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. All human needs are fulfilled by cooperating with God and not by magnifying our poverty. The wise man takes into account the spiritual forces as well as the material. Why is this demonstration commonly called a miracle? Because for centuries the materialist has believed that it transcends natural law. The metaphysician, however, knows that it is wholly in accord with divine principle. Jesus was able to feed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 small fishes through his knowledge that universal substance has power to increase and multiply itself. What is the promise in the story for us? God has given us the same power to materialize substance that Jesus had. Rich ideas circulating through our consciousness cause prosperity to be attracted to us. They build up such an awareness of abundance that there is no longer any room for a single idea of lack. When the disciples replaced their belief in lack with ideas of abundance, the truth was fulfilled. I refuse to acknowledge the appearance of lack. I affirm that the continual and inexhaustible substance of God is manifested in my life now. 38. Prosperity and taxes, and all went to be taxed. Do you complain, groan, and resent your taxes, dues, and other obligations? Perhaps you need a new perspective. Someone has clearly stated the point of view. Taxes are the price we pay for living in a democracy. If you think the price is high, let us look around us at the large part of the world ridden by dictators. One such look will surely convince us that we are getting a great deal for our money. Good Business in March 1944 presented an income tax blessing by Charles Gilbert that is well worth our attention. I bless this income tax form. I bless the federal government which acts for this tax. I bless this land which has given me my chance to earn this income. I bless the laws of this land which have guided and protected me and my fellow men and my family while I earn this income. I bless this income tax form with its seeming complications. I declare that it is too complicated for me to fill out accurately. I bless my fellow men who arranged the items on the form. The divine wisdom that guided them in preparing the form is guiding me in making my computations. I bless the income that has come to me through the year. I bless and set down every item as a substance of spirit that has been provided for me. I have returned a part to the Lord as an expression of gratitude to him for his kindness to me. I have been glad to make this return to him. I gladly make the required return to my United States also in gratitude for the privilege it has given me. I bless the deductions and exemptions I am allowed. When I compute these, I deal honestly with my Lord and with my government. I see these deductions as evidence that my government is considerate and reasonable in its requirements. I bless the actual taxes that I shall pay. When the time comes to pay the taxes, the Lord will provide the means whereby I can meet the obligations. I bless all who shall handle these taxes. I bless the taxes for their part in supplying my country's needs. Therefore, I bless my country itself. May righteousness, justice, goodwill, and peace prevail throughout all of its actions at home and abroad. My divine wisdom guide its officials and its citizens. May victory come to us and our allies. May the benefits that we enjoy in this country of freedom and prosperity and brotherhood be extended to all parts of the world. And may war be known no more on the face of the earth.
Okay, you get the idea of Robert Russell. He was obviously writing in the late 40s or mid 40s, and the language is a bit stilted, but it's still worth thinking about. Blessing a tax form is not something that I had on my list of things to do, but it's worth thinking about because it's giving back, and if you like, that counts as gratitude. Paying taxes counts as gratitude. It counts as generosity. And in some ways it counts as wisdom as well, because if it's keeping the country together and making it more stable and making it more peaceful, then it's providing a service to the whole country. And gratitude and generosity are two things that I'm interested in at the moment. So that's one way to look at a tax return and get in gratitude and generosity. So that's the end of the show, just about. I can hear the music's coming in. I'll be back at the same time next week, and Mercury's going direct next week, so I'll start moving on with new topics. But ultimately, we'll just take it wherever it goes.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.